They're both treated equally, but we have in this nation the grandest, probably the most sacred, most historic places in the world, and we've set them aside. It's unique with America. It's being copied throughout the world. People come from all over the world to see these places.
Wasn't it America that first, like when Teddy Roosevelt started doing that?
Teddy Roosevelt, during his administration, he created 5 national parks, one of which was Yellowstone. But he also created the U.S. National Forest Service, which is something that not too many people know about. But that was about 1905, you know, and he was one of the leaders in the park movement.
If President Teddy Roosevelt was the father of our national park system, then President Bill Clinton is the father of treasonous behavior, handing them over to the United Nations. You've seen here today that most of the rangers are totally unaware of the real scope and nature, but they all are aware of the UN engaged in helping keep the prime real estate safe.
I'm standing at the base of a 304-foot tree. We're told that some of these trees get over 367 feet tall and live to over 2,000 years. This is a prehistoric forest, a remnant of a forest that stretched over half the United States. It's very important to keep this pristine and under United States control, not under United Nations control, as the precedent is starting to be set.
We're now leaving Northern California and entering into the Pacific Northwest. We'll then travel through the mountain states, all the way through to Oklahoma City and revisit that tragedy. Then we'll wind up in the University of Texas in Austin, Texas, to show you our youth being indoctrinated. Before we left the Redwoods, we were hell-bent on finding the UN sign, and we did find it, hidden behind a rest stop on the back of the building, as they always are. Hold on.
We're about 10 miles from Mount St. Helens, which violently erupted in 1980, destroying everything for about 50 miles in all directions. Now, only 17 years later, the rejuvenation of the incredibly resilient Earth is apparent. Contrary to what the radical environmentalists would have you believe, the Earth is very, very resilient and able to take incredible shocks because the world was formed in fire and destruction. Now, that's not saying that we like what happened here, but certainly we shouldn't let them panic us into giving up our property rights in the name that secretly that will make the world be a safe place. We're going to show you some shots all around this area of beautiful trees that have already grown up to 20, 30 feet tall since the violent eruption in 1980. Look at this. We're only like 11 miles now from the crater itself. One of the biggest volcanic explosions in U.S. history, or the biggest. And I mean, it's ridiculous. The trees are growing. These are little short trees. There's like some 50-foot trees and 30-foot trees down here that have grown. Absolutely hypocritical. Real environmentalism is caring about pesticides being used on your food and things. Not, oh yes, let Carol Browner tax you to drive your car. That's just so bureaucrats can have more jobs. Look at this. We're only like 11 miles outside the actual blast point of the crater. All this was leveled when it went off in 1980. And look at it now. The resilient Earth. When are we going to start letting them not panic us and get us into a mode of fear, giving up all our rights so the grass will grow? It's the most primitive witch doctor behavior I've ever seen in my life. I just hope the camera can catch this, how the park has come back. You know, it's really, really good to see all the industry and the nice little schools and the happy people living around Mount St. Helens. It's good to see people that have the right outlook on life, in my opinion, that aren't afraid, that are willing to take risks, that have that pioneer wildcat spirit, that don't let the government turn them into little shaking in their boots city people.
And by that, I'm not talking people that live in cities. I live in cities, but they want us all to be these cookie-cutter people that are afraid and listen to what they say and think the earth's fixing to die and all the rest of these lies. I mean, this is just a beautiful area around here. It's come back so fast, and it just totally debunks the lies that the establishment tries to push on us. Humans need challenges. Humans need hardship. And I'm not calling for hardship, but I'm saying that a metastasized, weak, manila envelope life with $300 in welfare a month and crime in the streets and a big police state with a bunch of know-it-all professors organizing and running the whole thing is a nightmare to me. And I think if they really look out in the world and get out of their little shells and look to middle America and people that really work for a living, there is the wisdom. There is the wisdom. And I'm just tired of their fear-mongering. I want it to stop. I want a new attitude in America. I want people to start fighting back against the corruption. Look at this. We're like 15, 20 miles away from the central eruption point of Mount St. Helens, and people are not running from this. They're living here. They're making livings. And it's just, I'm glad they're doing it. I'm glad they're not letting themselves be cowed into fear by the government and its cronies in the media. Now, this park, Olympic National Forest and National Park, is designated. All the beautiful mountains, the rivers, the lakes, everything is all designated UN Biosphere World Heritage Site, and they have to take a bunch of the rules and regulations from the United Nations. But there is no posting. And as you saw earlier at the Grand Canyon, they attempted to run us off. So what I had heard before we went on this trip is obviously true. They are trying to cover up what's going on. I don't mean the people down at the lower level. They're just ignorant. A lot of things are being signed over, a lot of executive orders that I've already told you about. This is real. And we need to have Senate hearings or something about it. This is a beautiful park. We'll show you some beautiful scenes of the treasures that are falling under UN control more and more. We're looking for the Biosphere designation or World Heritage Site plaque. All the parks that have those signs, but we've been unable to find it here. Do you have any idea where those are?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Well,
what's our camera for?
Oh, we're just American citizens out filming.
Okay. Biosphere. For the Olympic National Park.
Yes, sir.
I'm with the U.S. Forest Service.
Yeah. Well, that's still Bruce Babbitt, isn't it?
He's the Department of Interior.
Yeah.
Forest Service is the Department of Agriculture.
Yes. Well, we're just curious.
We do share an office. What did you want to know for?
Is it okay to know?
Is it on our information? Got any information on it? On the information?
No, but they have them everywhere. They took down the UN signs at a couple of parks. Yeah. Mammoth Cave, they took them down. People didn't like the baby blue UN signs too much. Mm-hmm. We're just trying to find just the plaques. We're going all over the country categorizing the plaques and actually proving to people.
I'm sorry, I can't help you.
Listen, I really appreciate your help.
Okay.
It's no surprise to me that the people at the parks acted like we were two-headed demons. I talked to Bruce Babbitt's office, and they have been under a lot of heat, and so I'm sure they've told all their people to watch out for people like us. Now we're going to turn back east and go ahead and finish up the second half of our trip. We saw Americans across the nation just trying to enjoy themselves and be left alone. To the establishment, we have this to say to you.
Problems in our country, yes, we live in troubled times. There are far too many criminals and far too many crimes. I'm locking every window and I'm bolting every door. The tool I use in self-defense will even up the score. You can rant, you can rave, you can make your demands, and you can take my gun from my cold dead hands. There are global corporations, they have billions that they pay to the greedy politicians who make sure things go their way. They tax us into poverty and we live from day to day. To them we're useless eaters, we don't get to have a say. You want to crack this Constitution, it's that what's in your plan? You can take my gun from my cold dead hand. In every case through history, when genocide was planned, the firearms were gathered up and the opposition banned. The tyrants